everybody. Let's talk wrestling. This is my new show I'm starting called Either Or. So thank you if you guys are tuning in to my show. We're going to be talking a lot about G1Supercard and NXT Takeover. And in this absurd idea for a show, I have to choose one or the other. And it's crazy. It's insane of me to try to pick one between NXT Takeover and G1 Supercard. Now, both shows will be amazing. I'm not saying that you can only like one or the other. And in fact, I put out a whole bunch of polls on my Twitter, and I specifically asked for people to only vote if they like both promotions. Well, technically all three promotions, because G1 Supercard has ROH and New Japan Pro Wrestling involved. So I'm hoping that people who are tuning into this conversation are truly unbiased and really kind of like all promotions involved. Thank you all for joining right now. If you're just checking in, NY Hustler 233, thank you so much for joining. And everyone else, thank you for joining as well. We're going to have a really in-depth discussion about forcing me to choose a show between G1 Supercard and NXT Takeover. So basically, not only did I have to answer the question myself, which we'll get to my answer in a little while, I also put the question out on my social media and asked you guys' thoughts and opinions. So we got a lot of feedback, and it was really interesting, actually. I thought it was all going to be NXT TakeOver, and that was going to be what took away all the polls. But luckily, it wasn't that way. There was some back and forth, and I think it was pretty fair. So I can't wait to go through all the results with you guys of all my poll questions. It was really fun putting out all these polls. And I want to thank you guys, again, for participating in the polls, because that makes everything so much more fun. That makes all this wrestling talk even better than it would be normally if it was just me giving my opinion. I'd rather talk about you guys' opinion and my opinion. That makes it, extra fascinating. So here we go. We're going to go through the results of the first poll and then some of you guys' comments. So I really enjoyed doing this, but like I said, when it comes to me picking, it's going to be a nightmare. I'm glad you guys are on the spot first. So here we go. Poll 1. Which match are you most looking forward to? You have to choose. I'm hoping for an unbiased poll. Like I said, this is what I put out on my Twitter. So please only vote if you like and enjoy all the promotions involved. And again, I told everyone it was for my episode, the episode you're watching now, pitting G1 Supercard against NXT TakeOver. So in this first poll, I asked people, which match do you choose? Okada versus White or Gargano versus Cole? So this one's difficult. I don't even know what to choose, but you guys made the choice pretty definitively. 63% said Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, and 37% said Okada versus Jay White. I found that to be quite interesting and surprising. I mean, I'm really surprised that it wasn't a little more even, but still, I guess it makes sense because Cole getting an opportunity at the NXT title, I think that's a pretty big deal. We have seen Okada versus Jay White before, but I think the story is more there with Okada and Jay White. So to me, I'm going to make my choice for either or. I'm going to pick Okada versus White because I think there's a lot they can do story-wise. So to me, that's the more exciting match. Plus, I think it'll be awesome to see the Rainmaker in Madison Square Garden with all the fake Okada bucks raining down. Rain down! It'll be fun. Thank you guys for joining if you're just tuning in. Thank you, Big Paws on a Pup. Can't wait to hear your thoughts about G1 Supercard especially. Thank you, Be Better Gamer. And Jody, hi, how you doing? Thanks all you guys for watching and tuning in. So now let's go to your explanations. Some people commented why they preferred one match over the other when we were comparing Okada versus White with Gargano versus Cole. So Be Better Gamer saying he voted for Okada and White as well, just like me. Well, I'm glad I'm not alone there, at least. So here's some explanations to the poll. All right, so at Hagiero2 says, I want to vote for both. I would, in a perfect world, also love to vote for both, but the premise of this flippin' show that I came up with doesn't allow me to vote for both. Hi, Courtney. Thank you for watching. Some other comments about what they would prefer between Cole and Gargano or Okada versus White. Tanner Kelly, 15, said he's looking forward to the Adam Cole match because he thinks he's going to be the new NXT champion. I think that would make that match really, really amazing. yes, that would be kind of a sign, I think, that Gargano's moving up to the main roster permanently, and hopefully not going to 205 like the rumors say, so we'll have to see about that. But I think Cole winning could be a really special moment if that does end up happening, and I would love to see that be the result of the match. At Dave Pizeski says, this is a tough question because both matches are going to be fantastic. I just have to give the edge, though, to Johnny Wrestling and Adam Cole because I know how well both men can work and deliver when given the time. He's very right, because, man, Johnny Wrestling, they call him Johnny Wrestling for a reason because he never fails to deliver a great match. And I think that's what he's been really good at this past year. So to me, they very well could steal the whole show. I mean, it's the main event, so it's supposed to be the best show, but I think it's actually going to wind up being the best one on the whole card, but we'll have to see. All right, so let's go to the next poll. Again, I put out 8 polls total, and I got a decent response from people. I feel like the Okada, Jay White, pitting that against Gargano and Cole got the most response, so out of all the votes, that got almost 500 votes. Every other vote got a little bit less, but still had good participation, and I thank everyone who's voted. Before we move on, Big Paws on a Pup says, Okada versus White, he's looking forward to that the most, because the storyline alone, but also the in-ring work will be top tier. Okada is GOAT. I have to agree with you there. I love Okada. I think he's on his A-game right now, and if he wins, which could very well happen, that would be one special moment. However, I just don't see him winning so soon after Jay White has gotten the title, because it feels like it's been a short reign so far. I could be wrong, and I'd be glad to be wrong, because I'd love to see the Rainmaker hoist up the title, but I feel like Jay White will retain, after some heelish tactics or something. We'll see. All right, so our poll number 2. I said, which match are you most looking forward to? And this time I pitted Riddle versus Dream against the match of Cobb versus Will Ospreay. And this one was hard for me because if you follow my podcast, I love Matt Riddle so much and I also love Will Ospreay. So it's like the hardest poll ever. I don't even know how I'm going to end up answering. But you guys, this one was a little closer, but you guys chose Riddle versus Dream as the match you're most looking forward to. That got 58% of the vote out of 149 votes, whereas Cobb versus Ospreay got 42% of the vote. So that's a little closer than the Okada White stuff versus Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano, but still surprising to me that Riddle and Dream won so clearly. But, I do love Matt Riddle, and Dream's on fire with his character work, so at the same time, I think it makes perfect sense. Thank you, Kyle, for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I am going to New York. Someone's asking me in the comments here if I'm going to New York and New Jersey for all these shows this weekend, and I am. We leave tomorrow. I have to get up at like 5 a.m., so I haven't even packed yet is the funny part. Oh my gosh, it's going to be crazy. I can't wait to be at Madison Square Garden. I'm definitely really looking forward to that show, and I could possibly be at NXT Takeover. We still don't know if we're going to bite the bullet and basically spend $300 to go to NXT Takeover, but it would be worth it, I will say that. So let's go to some people's explanations why they picked either Riddle versus Dream as their most anticipated match, or if they picked Cobb versus Ospreay. So, at Bren123 Luke just put a gif that said, bro, and it's Matt Riddle. So, obviously, that was his choice for the match he was looking forward to out of those choices. At HowRow1980 says, I don't think you will get an unbiased group in this voting. I'm looking forward to both shows. He's talking about G1Supercard and NXT. That's a tongue twister. And NXT TakeOver. And he says, this poll has the two that will steal the show of both shows, but Cobb versus Ospreay, I think, will be the straight-up classic out of, the two matches. And he's got a good point there. I really am looking forward to Cobb versus Ospreay. We saw a little tease of this in a New Japan multi-man tag match. So to me, they could really, really pull out all the stops, and I think it could be one of the best matches of the night at G1Supercard. Will Ospreay's just getting better and better. It's insane. Every time you think he can't get any better, he just has a match that just beats his last match. And the funny thing is, so I was looking on YouTube the other day, and I actually saw a match that I had been meaning to watch, but I forgot that it happened. It was Riddle versus Ospreay, I think from, like a year ago. gosh, it was good. I watched it just last night. It was incredible. I gotta recommend it to you guys. I gotta find where I can find the link again, and I'll share it in this description, and I'll share it on Twitter because it was awesome. I mean, that's two of my favorites right there squaring off. How could you beat that? Spoiler, you can't beat that. So there you go. All right, so let's move on to our poll number 3. Oh, wait, I didn't make my choice for that one. I guess I'll put the poll back up so I can make my choice. Oh, do I really have to choose? Can't I just make you guys choose? That would be a lot better. All right, I guess I have to choose here. I guess I'm going to go with... Oh my god, this is hard. I did put thought into this ahead of time. I'm not just picking on the spot, but at the same time, I left some things up in the air. I was like, I'll just decide and just give myself no really time to wiggle out of my decision. But I'm trying to wiggle out of it right now. I guess I'm going to choose, for the match I'm looking forward to most, I'm going to choose Jeff Cobb versus Will Ospreay because, like I said, Ospreay is pretty much my number one besides Suzuki right now. They're almost neck and neck. In fact, in the last either or, I had to choose between Ospreay and Suzuki, and I chose Suzuki, but barely. I mean, talking about literally not even an inch leeway between the two of them. So I picked Suzuki, but in this poll, I'm picking my boy Ospreay, the aerial assassin. And the funny thing is, yes, he's called the aerial assassin, but at the same time, he's doing so much more than aerial work right now. He's kind of expanding, I think, his style, and I love that about him. He's very diverse, and also his promo work has been awesome these past few years, and you just really want to root for him. A lot of baby faces aren't that pure and believable today. There's a few. I mean, I can come up with a few examples, most notably, in my opinion, Sami Zayn, of course. That's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and I do think he's an ultimate babyface. But someone that really rivals him, like I said, Will Ospreay. And that's why I'm giving the edge to the Will Ospreay-Jeff Cobb match, because, come on, we know it's gonna be right. And also, I remember my friend Anthony from Smark to Death, you could find them at Smark to Death, he said, Jeff Cobb versus Will Ospreay is the correct answer. So I know what he picked for his answer. And I have to agree with him. It is the correct answer, and that's what I chose. So I chose correctly. But no offense to anyone who chose Riddle and Dream, because again, I love Riddle too. He's like in my top 5 right now. He's just such a great performer. Incredible, incredible. So let's move on to poll number 3. I want to thank you guys if you're just tuning in. Just to recap what we're talking about, we are pitting not only G1 Supercard against NXT Takeover, the shows themselves, but we're also pitting individual matches from each show against each other and picking which we're most looking forward to. And it's not that we can't be excited for both sets of matches from different shows. It's that the premise of this show, you have to choose one or the other. You just have to eliminate one. It doesn't matter if you're looking forward to both. You still have to give one the advantage, just by even a little bit. And that's what we're doing here. Thank you guys if you're just tuning in. So we're going to move on to poll number 3, pitting a G1 Supercard match against an NXT Takeover match. So here we go. Poll number 3. All right, which match are you most looking forward to? And this one really was one-sided, and I'll get to someone's comments on that. They thought that this was a bad choice by me to pit these two matches against each other, which I can understand, but I thought it would work because I used a British angle when I did this poll because, you know, Zack Sabre Jr. and then Pete Dunne, of course. So I thought, oh, okay, cool. Let's pick 2 matches from each card with really prominent British guys who are awesome and really represent British-style wrestling. Dude. So we have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tanahashi, or you can pick Dunne versus Walter. I'm really looking forward. I'm going to just pick right now. Honestly, I'll be with everyone else, and I'll say I'm looking forward to Dunne versus Walter because I'm a huge fan of Walter. If you watch PWG, especially not that old PWG, I mean, he's been pretty prominent the past year in PWG. Walter has had some great performances there, and so if you watch that, you'll be very familiar with him and love his work, and I'm a fan of him, 100%. His chops are so brutal. He just beats people up. Metal_2006, thanks for watching. He comments, Walter versus Dunne is gonna be match of the weekend in his opinion. That's a hot take there, but you know what? You could be right, my friend. You could very well be right. So, again, Dunne versus Walter won the whole poll. So not only am I picking it, but you guys picked it as well in the poll with 69% of the votes out of 119 votes. And then, man, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tanahashi only got 31% of the votes. Like I said, very skewed there, but I think that was to be expected. I think someone in the comments said that we've already seen Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tanahashi, so Dunn versus Walter is a little more exciting. But let's see what other people had to say about why they chose one or the other in this case scenario here. So here we go. At John O. Ridge, he says, I'm really looking forward to Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tanahashi, so he's in the minority here. He says, it's a really nice touch that New Japan is giving Rev Pro the rub here by having the British Heavyweight Championship defended at MSG. To think it's been defended at the Tokyo Dome and MSG within the space of 4 months, he put a smiley face. That's very true, and it's awesome that they're doing that. At JA113, I'm going to put a sleeper match out there. He's also looking forward to Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tanahashi the most. It has the potential to have a bit of everything from mat wrestling to flying, if you include, the use of Tanahashi's high fly flow, and of course it'll have storytelling. Very good choice, my friend. So although, in the vote itself, Dunn and Walter won over Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi, it seems that in the comments, people are giving love to Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tanahashi. And I like that. I like their explanations here. But here's the comment that I was referring to. This person thought that my choice of comparisons was wrong. So, and they've got a valid point of criticism here. I will say this. At CIW Worldwide says, this is not a fair comparison. You should have compared this to a different match because we've seen Tana and Zack Sabre Jr. go at it multiple times. I think Cobb versus Ospreay would have been a better comparison to compare with Dunn versus Walter. And yes, you could make that argument, but like I said, I already had used Cobb and Ospreay for a different poll, and I really thought the whole British angle would be a good thing to base this comparison on. But nonetheless, this is a valid comparison and criticism that he made as well. So both the comparison's valid and the criticism. So really, I'm just trying to be fair all the way around. So we've circled back to the first comment, so let's move on to our next poll. All right, next poll. Which match are you most looking forward to yet again? And this time, we've got the War Raiders versus Black and Ricochet, or you could be looking forward to the IWGP Tag and ROH Tag Championship matches. And that should be an insane match. I mean, think of the people involved. I'm super pumped up about that one. And in the vote, this one was the first Ring of Honor New Japan set of matches that beat the NXT matches in the set of polls I've released. So out of the first 4 polls, this is the first one where G1 Supercard has won. So again, G1 Supercard has won with 60% of 118 votes, with War Raiders versus Black and Ricochet only getting 40% of the vote. Interesting there. And this is what made me feel like it was a little more fair than I was worrying that it wasn't fair at all. And I don't have any comments for anybody for this one because not many comments on this one. I think it was kind of clear cut for people. I think everyone knows that tag match is going to be insane at G1 Supercard. It's going to be nuts because, I mean, you got the Briscoes, you got God, and you got PCO and King. And PCO and King have already had a couple of wonderful, honestly, kind of scary, I don't know how else to say it, kind of scary matches against the Briscoes lately. And it's just made me cringe, some of the things they've done. And there's been blood, there's been all kinds of stuff that just kind of makes you worry for their safety. But I think that's why it's actually going to be a really wonderful match. And to me, I think that might be the match I'm looking forward to at G1 Supercard the most out of all of G1 Supercard. However, it's really difficult just to pick one match of the whole G1 Supercard card, just because I think what gives every match a special tint is that they all take place at Madison Square Garden. And really, every match is going to have something special because of just where everything is taking place, during that show. So to me, I don't know, there's going to be something for everyone to love and enjoy, and I think that's kind of special. Not to downplay NXT TakeOver New York, because again, I really want to go really bad. I'm hoping we're just going to end up splurging and deciding to go at the last minute. We'll see. Let's see, before we move on, Be Better Gamer says, if PCO and King win, it'll be such a feel-good moment for PCO, specifically for his MSG return. That's a great point there, Be Better Gamer, because actually, I think, who was it? I think Bully Ray on the latest ROH show, the 17th anniversary show, was berating the roster saying, all of you have never even been to Madison Square Garden, but I have. But I think he was wrong because PCO had been there, and he must have just forgotten about that. So to see PCO get over there would be something very, very, very special. And I would like to see it. But again, I'm biased because I love the Briscoes like an insane amount. So I'm kind of hoping that the Briscoes win their titles back. So please excuse me for having a bias, but they are probably my favorite tag team besides the Young Bucks. It's them and the Bucks together. They're my number one. Thank you guys if you're just tuning in. We're pitting NXT Takeover New York with G1 Supercard, and it's driving me mad, and it's really hard to choose. So again, I just chose that the match I'm looking forward to the most between the IWGP and ROH Tag Championship match or the Black Ricochet versus War Raiders match, I chose, of course, the G1 Supercard match because I think it's going to be nuts. Oh, Black_Baymax8 says he's hoping that God retains. That would be cool too. I mean, really, there's so much potential, so many ways the match can go. And my one criticism, and if you guys are listeners of my podcast, I'm sorry to repeat myself because I have said this in my wrestling pod. I do think that the involvement with Evil and Sonata does make sense because they have a history, especially with the Gorillas of Destiny. But on the whole, I know they want Evil and Sonata on the card. I just think storytelling-wise, it's not as strong. The other three teams have so much of a connection between each other right now with the story they've been telling for the last month and a half. So, to me, Evil and Sonatas just seem a little out of place, but I know that they deserve to be on the card for sure, so I understand their inclusion, and I'm not knocking them at all, because I do like them. But, again, personally me, I would just love it if it was like a 3-way tag match. That would be okay with me, but I'm not knocking it. I'm still looking forward to it, probably the most out of the whole G1 Supercard show, as I said. Johnny123451 asks, am I getting ready for WrestleMania? Yeah, I still got to pack. I'm leaving tomorrow at like 6 or 7 a.m. I have nothing packed, not one thing. But that's okay. We're going to talk wrestling, and then I'm going to pack. Somebody from Mexico City's watching. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who are watching. We're going to continue on with our polls. I basically put out a total of 8 polls, and we've already gone through 4 of the 8, and now we're approaching our 5th poll. Be Better Gamer actually says, we were just talking about the tag match for G1 Supercard. Be Better Gamer says, he thinks I'm right. He thinks Evil and Sonata are the least likely to win. And I agree especially because Sonata's recent, single success going so far in the New Japan Cup tourney, I think because of that, why kind of stick them with the tag belts yet again? Let some other tag teams shine and let Evil and Sonata kind of work their way up in singles action and kind of become more of singles wrestlers again. Not that they can't also wrestle as a tag team, as kind of is standard in New Japan. You can wrestle as a singles guy, but then a lot of their top singles guys can work together flawlessly in a makeshift tag team. And that's one of the things I actually like about New Japan Pro Wrestling. But it never feels like the tag teams that are thrown together are unimportant or just like they don't work. It feels like they do work is the funniest part. And I don't know why it works in New Japan so well. Unlike WWE, where to me their tag division isn't booked like very well, even with few technical tag teams in New Japan Pro Wrestling, because a lot of times they're just people, singles guys together, somehow the tag division still really works really well in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I don't know why that technically is. I just know that I like it, what they do with that division. It's impressive to me. All right, poll number 5. We've got, which match are you most looking forward to yet again? And this one was super one-sided, and that makes sense because obviously NXT Women's Division is so much more well-rounded and deep than Ring of Honor's Women's Division. And, that's no fault of Ring of Honor. It's just they don't have a very deep division. They don't have a lot of women on their roster. That's why they do work with Stardom quite a bit, as you see with Iwatani here, being in the match and actually being champion right now. But again, so basically this poll pitted the NXT Women's 4-way match against Iwatani and Kelly Klein. And again, it's kind of unfair because Kelly Klein and Iwatani already faced off a few times. But having said that, I'm looking forward to their rematch. I really am. I don't see anything wrong with picking that, but unfortunately only 21% of the voters voted for that out of 94 votes. Again, this was a lesser voted on poll, but still about 100 votes is a decent poll. And then 79% of the voters voted for the NXT Women's 4-Way match. And that's an overwhelming percent of the vote right there. So to me, that was kind of not a surprising result. But I'm looking forward to both matches. I don't care what the poll says. I like both. Both are cool with me. So let's move on to our 6th poll, because I don't think I have any comments from that one. And our 6th poll is an alternate poll. So I'd already booked one of these matches and pitted them against another one, but I am repeating it and pitting it against a different match. So here we go. Alternate poll. Which match are you most looking forward to? And this one pits Dunn versus Walter again, so they make another appearance in these polls, but this time, instead of putting it against Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi, I'm putting it against Ibushi and Naito, and this time the results were reversed. So in the previous poll, earlier, when we were going through the results, the previous poll had Dunn and Walter winning. Now this one has Naito and Ibushi winning. And I think that's no surprise because I think people are really amped to see Naito and Ibushi have a longer match. We saw a little tease of what they could do in the New Japan Cup tourney. And again, I love the New Japan Cup tournament because I feel like it set such a great stage for, especially right now, this year, G1 Supercard. A lot of things were built up during that tournament that I think will come into play during G1 Supercard. And I think one of the things, like I referenced, that has been built up is Ibushi versus Naito. I think people are just clamoring to see that longer match between the two of them, and I know it's going to deliver, and I think my followers feel the same way from the results of the poll. So again, Ibushi versus Naito won over Dunn versus Walter with 58% of the vote, while 42% of the voters voted for Dunn and Walter. Again, this is reversed from when I pitted Dunn and Walter against Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi. Surprising to me in a way, but at the same time, like I said, Naito and Ibushi, lots of people love those wrestlers specifically, and, I just think people want to see the longer match because they know that they could probably steal the show. And just to circle back to our previous poll, we've got Be Better Gamer who says, Iwatani and Klein have had great matches, but the NXT match is going to have more drama, he thinks. That's a very good point there because the story with that is a little stronger, whereas, like you said, they've already had matches, Iwatani and Klein, but, the story's kind of getting thinner and thinner as their rematches go on. So, I don't know. I kind of agree with you there. The story is stronger with the NXT women's match over the Ring of Honor women's match, for sure. Alright, so I think I have one more alternative poll, and now this will be our 7th poll out of 8, so we're nearing the end here. I want to thank everyone who's watching and everyone who voted on the polls, because this was fascinating stuff, and a lot of times, you guys seem to have way more definitive of answers than me, and an easier time choosing than me, which is no surprise. I hate decisions. It's the worst. That's why this show is torture to me, but whatever. And in case I didn't say, between Dunn and Walter and Ibushi and Naito, I think I'm going to pick Ibushi and Naito just like my followers did because it's just, I want to see what happens. I want to see if Ibushi finally beats Naito. How crazy would that be? At Madison Square Garden? I think that would be crazy. And I would really, really love to see that, honestly. Alright, so here we go to another alternate poll. And this one, I believe, is my 7th poll. Alright, so alternate, which match are you most looking forward to? And this one pits Johnny Wrestling versus Cole. We already saw this match in an earlier poll, but this time it's pitting it against Jay Lethal, Marty Scurll, and Taven. And in both polls that included Johnny Wrestling and Cole, both polls had that match winning over the G1 Supercard match that I pitted it against. And to me, that's a little surprising especially because Lethal versus Scurll versus Taven, to me, has the way more in-depth story. And we've been seeing, especially, just pretend Skrull's not even involved right now. Just Lethal and Taven alone, their whole story arc has been going on for almost a year now. It's insane how long it's been going. So I really want to see what they're going to do and who's going to win. If Lethal retains, I think that would be a big coup for Lethal, going out from Madison Square Garden, retaining as champion. How big of a deal would that be for Jay Lethal? I think that would be really special. It could be special if Scurll wins as well. So to me, wholeheartedly. But my followers seem to disagree, and they chose Gargano versus Cole. 65% of you chose that. whereas only 35% picked the match I picked, Lethal versus Skrull versus Taven. Again, I don't know why so few people picked that, because maybe people aren't really big fans of Matt Taven, which I have a suspicion that's the true reason behind this choice, which I can appreciate and understand. But even if you don't like his wrestling, his character work has really been well done, and intense character work. Like, he keeps his character really, really strong, and he keeps in his character a lot. And that's what I love about Matt Taven. I just think he's had a great year overall, and to me, that's why I'm picking that match over Johnny Wrestling versus Adam Cole. Although it could be a big night for Cole as well if he ends up winning, which would be special in its own right. So, really, there's good reasons to pick either or. Hence the name of this show. You could really pick either or of any topic ever. Thank you to all you guys who are watching. GBTY Fan 07, thank you for watching. Missed you, haven't seen you in a while. Alright, so let's go to people's reasonings for picking either Gargano and Cole or Lethal Skrull Taven. Alright, so here we go with the comments. At CCW Universe says, G1 Supercard is more stacked event in depth, and it's going to be the first ever non-WWE show in MSG in 60 years. It's going to be a monumental event that'll go down in history. Makes perfect sense, and I gotta agree with that there. Alright, so then at STR909 says, this is like Sophie's Choice, but the wrestling edition. And I loved that comparison, such a funny analogy, because, of course, Sophie's Choice, she's picking between her two children, which is literally an impossible choice. Hence the comparison, because picking between these two matches, and really these two shows and these two cards, is a very intensely difficult choice, for sure. Alright, so then we've got Tanner Kelly. He says, I want to see Pete Dunne retain. So he, I'm assuming, voted for Dunne and Walter. Of course, I miscategorized that comment, but we're just kind of talking in general here what people are looking for. This decision is very hard. I'm a huge mark for Walter, and Dunne always puts on amazing matches, but then again, it is Ibushi and Naito, and him are going to have a classic. Can't wait. Slightly more excited and scared for this, and of course, this is a comment on why he voted for Walter and Dunne over Ibushi and Naito. But he really is saying he could pick either, so he kind of is picking Ibushi Naito. Alright, so let's go to, I think, the most interesting poll of all the polls, and it's, to me, the hardest poll of all. So, which show are you most looking forward to and why? Again, we've been comparing matches from G1 Supercard to NXT Takeover, but now we're comparing whole shows against each other. Gosh, I just don't know what to choose. So, my viewers and listeners and followers seem to have chosen, 60% of you chose NXT Takeover New York as the show they're most looking forward to, whereas only 40% chose G1 Supercard. To me, this is nuts, because I would totally think that it would be more even, because G1 Supercard, yes, even if you're not a huge Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, it's historic because of where it's taking place at. So I don't know. It's really, really difficult to say that NXT TakeOver, just because of the card, is going to be the better show. You've got to put the history into perspective, and you kind of have to account for that, in my opinion. And that's why I'm really weighing that very heavily. Although there's a lot of matches on NXT TakeOver New York I'm really looking forward to. To me, it really could go either way. And here we go. The moment of truth. Oh, this is difficult. I must choose. Which show do I choose? NXT TakeOver New York or G1 Supercard? And again, this is my choice. Oh, I'm going to pick G1 Supercard. Again, I can't overstate how important it is that it's happening at Madison Square Garden. I'm a big believer in Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling as companies, as promotions. I think they're wonderful promotions. They always focus on the wrestling, and yes, NXT does that as well, but to me, G1 Supercard is going to be something that everyone who will have been there will remember forever because of where it was alone. So yeah, the card is stacked. That helps me choose G1 Supercard over NXT TakeOver New York, but it's not just the card. It's really kind of, it's that classic where were you when this happened thing. And a lot of people with historic moments in their life or fun things that they have attended that have been historic, they usually remember where they were what was going on, and they carry that with them throughout their lives. So to me, that's why G1 Supercard is extra special this year. And also, it's kind of cool that Ring of Honor and New Japan are taking their partnership, it seems like, to the next level. And they're really kind of doing this side by side, hand in hand, and they put their money where their mouth was, and they're like, let's put on a huge show. Let's sell out the Garden. Now, yes, we haven't talked about the whole Bucks, Cody, Omega thing. A lot of these tickets were sold when people thought that the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody Rhodes would be on the card, probably. And some people said that they were disappointed, and they sold their tickets to G1 Supercard after they found out that the Bucks, Cody, and company were leaving. And I can understand being disappointed that the Bucks won't be there. But, if you like Ring of Honor, you like Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has basically lasted and stood the test of time. Almost better than TNA, now Impact Wrestling. I feel like Impact's kind of floundering a little bit here and there, whereas Ring of Honor has shown time and time again, it doesn't matter who leaves, they continue to succeed and to thrive and to build new stars. Just when you think their roster has nobody and it's thin, they add some new people, and they even build up the kind of mid-card people to be kind of upper card. And that's what I think Ring of Honor does the best, and I think they deserve props for that. Just another reason that I'm also choosing G1 Supercard over NXT Takeover. Just what they've done this year in the face of great adversity, in my opinion. Some people actually like Ring of Honor better, I've heard, without the Young Bucks, which is quite an interesting take. And their argument is that when the Bucks were there, they were only focusing on the Bullet Club and the Bucks. They weren't really focusing on the booking of some of the other wrestlers, some of the other hidden gems that they had on their roster. And they weren't also going after new talent because a lot of their roster money was tied up with the Bucks and company. And so their argument is that now Ring of Honor has the freedom financially and booking-wise to do what they want with the other people on their roster, to invest in other talent in more ways than one. So to me, that makes a little bit of sense. Be Better Gamer weighs in on this conversation and says, honestly, looking at this card, not missing the Bucks and Omega too much because this card is lit. Very good point there, actually. I really do think the show's going to be amazing. All right, so again, let's look at that last poll comment one last time before we get to our comments about the two shows themselves, because you guys turned in a lot of comments about why both shows were great and why you're looking forward to both of them. So we'll go through that in a second, but I just want to wrap up the results real quick. So again, although I picked G1 Supercard as the show I'm looking forward to most between NXT Takeover and G1 Supercard, you guys picked the opposite and voted with 60% of the vote for NXT Takeover New York over G1 Supercard. G1 Supercard finished with 40% of the vote, and that was out of about 195 votes, so almost 200 there. Decent voting results. Again, I'm surprised by this result because of the history factor. I thought that would play in more. Chaz says Naito versus Ibushi alone is why he's more hyped for G1 over NXT Takeover. Good reasoning there. As we were talking about, lots of people are looking forward to Naito and Ibushi. Should be great. Could be a show stealer, as I said. Now let's go through some of you guys' reasoning why you're looking forward to one over the other, or some people even said that they were kind of looking forward to both equally. So here we go. And this will close out our show. I kind of went through this comment earlier, but I'm going to reiterate it. At CCW Universe says, G1 Supercard is the more stacked event in depth. It's going to be the first ever non-WWE show in MSG in 60 years. It's going to be a monumental event that'll go down in history, and plus, I'm going, so yeah. And again, I read this one earlier, but I wanted to restate it because, one, I read it in the wrong place, but two, this is such a valid statement. The history factor, to me, you can't say enough about how much it means to be in that building. Again, like he references, WWE historically is the one who runs in that building. But now, it's reversed. And Ring of Honor and New Japan are kind of seeing how they're going to perform there. And I can't wait to see the crowd react when, Okada comes out, when Ibushi comes out, when Naito comes out. They're going to go crazy. It's going to be an electric feeling in the air. And that's why I agree with CCW Universe. All right, then we go to How Our Row. Actually, it's How 1980. I'm up for both and plan to watch both, but come on, the G1 is going to be the better show. I can't argue with you there. That's the one I picked. At At Zeke Dane says, great question, tough choice. So tough, in fact, that he did not give an answer. That's okay, because it is a tough choice. He probably voted but didn't comment what he thought. At Matthew669691, I am going to G1 Supercard, but these cards are insane. It's hard to choose. It's going to be awesome weekend next week. Support wrestling. I totally agree with that, especially the support pro wrestling hashtag. I think is very important because not only are these two shows going to be awesome, but think of all the other great shows happening this week and this weekend. We've got Rev Pro, we got WrestleCon's Super Show, we got Evolve, we got Chikara, we've got Joey Janela's Spring Break. We've got so many great things to look forward to. And of course, we cap it all off with the 7-hour WrestleMania show, which, yes, it sounds crazy that it's 7 hours, but still, should be good, should be fun, especially with the women main eventing. Chaz adds, though, he wishes G1 was on Friday during the Hall of Fame, so we could just be able to watch both live. That's definitely true. Actually, G1 is on Friday during the Hall of Fame ceremony. No, wait, it's on Saturday. I'm getting mixed up with my days. You're right, I'm going to Rev Pro on Friday, G1's on Saturday, but NXT Takeover's on Friday, so you can watch them both. But, yeah, to each his own. If you want to watch everything, everything's going to be on demand, and that's the great thing about being a wrestling fan these days. You could literally have access to any show you want, and that is a good thing, but a bad thing if you want to get any sleep. Because if you're going to watch everything, you're going to be up a lot of time this weekend. It's going to be really hard to stay up for everything. At ZachShe130, and this is from our good friend Zachary, he says he's going to put his dislike for WWE aside. This is huge for business. Ring of Honor and New Japan are going to MSG. They don't have huge appeal as WWE can do, and they're actually going to run MSG, whereas only before WWE would run there. And he's saying that if they do well running MSG, we could get more non-WWE MSG events. For that, his answer is G1 Supercard. So he's saying that it's so historic that it's at MSG, and that could mean more Ring of Honor New Japan shows and more other wrestling shows at MSG. And that's a great point because, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, what if MSG decides to maybe work with AEW in the future? That could be a possibility as well. If this is successful, why wouldn't Madison Square Garden dip their toe into other ponds, you know? Shane at STR909 says 2 great shows, but MSG is more historic. Again, history is kind of the common thread here throughout all of these answers, and including my own answer where I picked G1 Supercard over NXT Takeover. And then we've got Man for WWE Ladies. All he put was the NXT logo. It was a GIF, and it had the word bro written out over it. So she must be looking forward to, or he must be looking forward to NXT Takeover over G1 because of Matt Riddle. That's what I can deduce from that GIF at least. At Be Better Gamer says, NXT TakeOver never disappoints, and I know it's going to be great, but the Ring of Honor New Japan G1 Supercard show at Madison Square Garden is something I never dreamed of happening, and also didn't expect the card to be so stacked, so I'm looking forward to it more. It's my most anticipated show all weekend. Great points there, and I gotta agree with you. Out of all the shows I'm going to, I think G1 Supercard holds a special place in my heart. Extra special over all the other shows, personally. At Angelus13AOV, I'm more excited for G1 Supercard specifically because I'm going to be there live. Hey, I mean, that's a good reason. If you're going to be there, you can't argue with that. You might be more excited for that show, of course. At SCORPPHOENIX, I do not have to choose because I'm going to both. However, it would be hard to actually make a choice. I've never seen Ring of Honor or New Japan live, so I'm excited for that. Would have been more excited if Kenny Omega was there. I'm pumped for NXT because I'm more familiar with WWE, and I think it's the best brand of wrestling. So he's making a case for both brands, and he seems excited for everything, which is a great way to be. Alright, then we go to Zachary at Project Zach. All of them! This week is so packed with amazing wrestling. I know of at least 5 to 6 shows that I will be watching. Like I said, there's so much wrestling, you could literally watch all of it online, and you would be entertained for hours and hours on end. You'd probably be entertained for like a week, because a lot of these shows are happening at the same time. If you watched every single one back to back, I'm sure it would fill up quite a few hours, over multiple days, I'm guessing, of viewing. Then we've got our good friend, Good Guy Dave at Dave Pizzeski. Very tough decision here between NXT Takeover and G1 Supercard. He knows that he's a WWE mark, but he feels like he's more excited for G1 Supercard, which is really surprising knowing Dave personally, because he does love NXT and WWE, but I have seen him get it for an NXT show. The build wasn't great, and the feuds aren't as memorable as in the past. I'm sure I'll like both, but I'm giving a slight edge to G1 Supercard, and he put a smiley. Very interesting take, Dave, and you're right, I feel like the story elements are stronger overall with G1 Supercard, so definitely think I agree with you there. Yes, Johnny Walker, the Hall of Fame is on Saturday. Is it? I'm getting mixed up with my days. You're right, it is on Saturday. Oh well, who cares what's on what day? I know what I'm going to by looking at my tickets. But again, you could watch everything on demand. That's the good thing. It would be quite the sneaky thing for NXT/WWE to kind of do on the same weekend that New Japan, his old stomping grounds, are going to be running MSG. Wouldn't that be funny for Kushida to make an appearance at TakeOver that same weekend that his former promotion is having such a big, amped up, historic show? I don't know, that would be quite funny and ironic and coincidental, but I'm pretty sure it would be on purpose. And yeah, there's a very good chance Kushida will show up. And if he does show up, I'm hoping he'll make a big splash, because I don't want to see him relegated to 205 Live. He is much better than that. He was like a cornerstone of the junior division in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Don't want to see him squandered in NXT or WWE. So hopefully they value him the way he deserves to be valued and featured, because he's a great performer. So, Be Better Gamer says Kushida will probably just be in the audience, like how they always have a new signee. Yeah, but that would be such a waste. But you're right, that probably will be what happens. It happened with everybody. It happened with Riddle, happened with Keith Lee, countless others, but I hope they do it differently. So back to our viewer and Twitter comments here. At Cody, COLLIER 24, he says, I think TakeOver will be better, quote, but G1 Supercard will be awesome as well, and more historic, honestly. Again, history is a common theme here. And I know you guys are probably getting tired of hearing the history reasoning, but to me, it's so true. At Jessa_ANA, the Big Apple, of course, because Madison Square Garden is an epic, spectacular hall for such great events. Again, Madison Square Garden, the location, the history, all of that is coming into effect in people's choices here and in their reasoning. And again, we circle back to the beginning. Alright, so one last look at the poll. Again, NXT TakeOver, New York won over G1 Supercard overall, but my choice was clear. My choice, I chose G1 Supercard, and I don't regret it one bit, guys. So I'm about to wrap up my discussion. I really had a great time talking with you guys, but I have to get things going here, wrap things up, because I have to pack, because I'm going to New Jersey and New York tomorrow. Woo! Should be a lot of fun. So if you guys want to check me out on social media, you could find me at SuperKickingIt. You could see that in the key down below, how to spell it. It's with the G. Also, go to my website, superkickingit.com, to see all of my links, including how to find my wrestling podcast, how to find my YouTube channel, and all kinds of other stuff too. So I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. Dave says the WWE Hall of Fame and G1 Supercard are on the same day. Yes, but somebody was saying as G1. Because yes, Hall of Fame is great and all, but you don't have to see it live to be entertained. Whereas I think they were talking about they wanted to see NXT TakeOver live and G1 Supercard live, but you can this year because they're on different days, which I really like. That's a big change from past years, if you guys recall, because in past years, and it wasn't called G1 Supercard, it was called Supercard of Honor. So for instance, last year in New Orleans, my hometown, Supercard of Honor was going on at the same time as NXT TakeOver. So it's great this year because you don't have to choose one over the other to watch live. This wonderful weekend and week of wrestling, it's going to be insane. Tweet me at SuperKickingIt, letting me know what you enjoyed most from the whole weekend. Once it's all over, I want to hear you guys' thoughts in depth of what you liked, what you didn't like, and things that shocked you, things that you thought were going to happen all along. Just anything you want to comment and let me know, tweet at me, or you could actually email me as well. You can find me just about my podcast episode that's dropping this Friday. We're going to have a continuation of our interview with Boy Meets World producer Mark Blutman. He was the co-executive producer and writer on Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. So part 2 of that interview is dropping this Friday on my podcast, which you can find underneath Wrestling Inc.'s platforms. So on this Friday, we'll also be talking about which wrestlers' stocks has risen or fallen or stayed the same. And we don't mean money. We mean their value as a performer, either in-ring, out-of-ring, or both. Has it increased, decreased, or stayed the same since this same time last year? That conversation was very interesting. We just taped it the other night, so I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Please check it out on Friday. Thanks again for watching. See you later.